The Fitterist Show with your host, Christopher Allen, where we explore the art of mind and body conditioning. Amazon's Echo Buds debuts a new suite of fitness tracking features, including step count, distance, pace, and calories, and results automatically sync with the Alexa smartphone app. Health app maker Levels, who provides actionable health information by constantly monitoring the wearer's blood sugar levels, secures a new funding round to fuel their bold wellness ambitions. And finally, the Global Wellness Institute released a new research report that pegs the global wellness market at $121 billion. We'll take a look at each of the details behind these stories in this week's show. So, let's dive in. Amazon's new Echo Buds have native Alexa integration, and the wireless earbuds have a suite of new fitness tracking features. Again, things like step count, your average pace, distance, calories are all automatically tracked in conjunction with the Alexa smartphone app. And it's pretty easy to start. If you want to start tracking your fitness, you just say, Alexa, start my workout. And that triggers the digital assistant to start tracking data about your activity. And during your workout, you can actually ask Alexa to tell them stats about your workout, like calories burned, time you've been running, walking, jogging, etc. And then you can prompt Alexa to end the workout, and the data from the entire session is synced with the Alexa smartphone app, where you can view your fitness data and look at your progress over time. Pretty cool. Now, the Echo Buds are probably considered a mid-range to upper mid-range piece of technology. So while they might not have the audio quality of a more expensive pair of earbuds, they're pretty good and probably better than average for most people. But with Amazon's addition of these fitness tracking features, Amazon kind of goes to a whole different level. The earbuds are pretty competitively priced. They're about $80, which is, we're around Black Friday. So it's down from their regular list price of $130, but it's still way cheaper than a pair of AirPods from Apple, as an example. So while being more affordable than the AirPods from Apple, the Echo Buds are a pretty good solution for a lot of people. And again, if you're a fitness person and a fitness tracking person, that's just gravy. Now remember, the Echo Buds aren't Amazon's only foray into the fitness tracking world. They released the Amazon Halo Band earlier this year, and if you remember, while tangentially related, they also announced Amazon Pharmacy. But the band is really designed to track movement and look at metrics like body composition and body fat percentage. And it's kind of the entry hardware for a monthly fitness subscription that Amazon also happens to offer. Now, the Echo Buds don't require a subscription for their fitness tracking features, but stay tuned. Clearly, Amazon is getting serious about the workout space. It's a massive space. It's likely that they'll start to tie some of these things together with cloud-based storage of fitness data, etc., etc. Wellness, pharmacy, you can kind of see the picture down the road. And when Amazon gets behind something, look out. They started out as an e-commerce giant, and they are expanding their tentacles into a lot of different verticals. So stay tuned. And then our next news story. On November 17th of this year, 2020, Levels announced a seed round to help bring its biowearable metabolic sensor to market. Now, this is an innovative platform that really pairs a continuous glucose monitoring system, which is CGM, continuous glucose monitoring, with a software suite to provide the wearer with much deeper insights about their health. And the principles on which this company was founded really believe that this approach really helps users tie together exercise, food, particularly sugar levels, and your overall well-being. Now, Levels provides what they call actionable health information by constantly monitoring the wearer's blood sugar using pretty proven technology. So it's not something that you wear around the wrist. It's actually a medical device, hardware that's attached to your arm for a period of time, usually around 2 weeks or so. The $12 million funding round for Levels was led by Andreessen Horowitz and other notable participating investors, including Mark Randolph, one of the co-founders of Netflix, Dick Costolo, former CEO of Twitter, Michael Arrington, founder of TechCrunch. So they've got some big names behind them. And they say Levels has about 45,000 people on their wait list. And with this funding, what they're trying to do is get more pre-orders so that they can expand rapidly and hit the ground running in 2021. So Levels is using the seed funding to really refine and do the research necessary to really understand which mechanisms to focus on, which of those should translate into the actual end product, so that's still in a pre-launch sequence. And the CEO, Josh Clemente, says that optimizing metabolic function can improve energy, endurance, memory, mood, and cognitive performance. He also goes on to say that 7 out of the 10 leading causes of death in the U.S. are basically related to metabolic dysfunction. So, Levels, their goal is to help you improve that overall metabolic fitness by alerting you to foods that negatively impact your glucose levels. And thus, it allows you to make a more informed decision to take control of your metabolic health and make better decisions. While some may argue it's a much more invasive approach, I like where Levels is going with this. Clearly, metabolic dysfunction underlies a lot of the core chronic diseases that are plaguing Americans' health. And if you can improve your metabolic fitness by consistently making choices that keep glucose levels in a stable and healthy range, you don't have these spikes and valleys where you have these spikes of insulin and sugar crashes, and minimize those large glucose swings, that's going to be better for you. Now, one term that they talk about is metabolic fitness, and the way they define that is where we as a person fall on the spectrum of metabolic health and how well we're generating and processing energy, glucose, in the body. And again, glucose being that primary precursor to energy, it needs to be regulated for your metabolic to optimally work. And metabolic fitness can be improved by making consistently good choices that help keep glucose levels in a stable and healthy range, minimizing large glucose swings so you have an overall improved metabolic health. Again, interesting approach, maybe a little more invasive, but I like the fact that they're tying it in so closely with near, if not real-time feedback into where your actual blood glucose is so that you can take actions and learn what and how your body responds to certain foods that trigger glucose spikes. So stay tuned. I think they got a good future ahead of them. And in our final story this week, the Global Wellness Institute released a major research report for 2020 entitled Defining the Mental Wellness Economy. So it's one of the first studies to define mental wellness as opposed to mental health and to start to clarify some of the key concepts. What are the key areas that comprise mental wellness? So it's a pretty big report, but it nets out where the global mental wellness economy is worth about $121 billion. And they divide that into 4 major market segments. The first they call senses, spaces, and sleep, $49.5 billion. Second, brain boosting, nutraceuticals and botanicals, $35 billion. Self-improvement, $34 billion. And meditation and mindfulness, $3 billion. So mental wellness is a pretty big and encompassing thing as defined in this particular report by the Global Wellness Institute. In part, this report was spurred by the pandemic and the underlying and frankly underreported mental well-being of certainly certain verticals, certain occupations, and society as a whole, with people now looking for strategies to cope with overall mental wellness. So, how does the GWI, the Global Wellness Institute, define mental wellness? They call it a, quote, an integral resource that helps us think, feel, connect, and function. It is an active process that helps us to build resilience, grow, and flourish. Pretty broad and comprehensive definition. Touches on a lot of areas. And the authors propose kind of this model in which mental wellness is really a dynamic process where an individual moves from kind of pain and languishing to building resilience to ultimately flourishing. And they identify, and I'm not going to go into depth with all that's in the report, but they do identify key strategies for mental wellness that fall into four kind of pathways: activity and creativity, growth and nourishment, rest and rejuvenation, and connection and meaning. Those are pretty powerful pathways when you think about those and all of the actions that could encompass those high-level categories. The authors go on to note that the categories and the definitions in their report specifically doesn't include solutions that may be very beneficial for mental wellness, but whose primary purpose is really not for mental wellness. So things like fitness and exercise, right? It's beneficial, but it's not a core. You don't do that specifically for mental wellness. Healthy foods, pets, things like that are not primarily, their primary purpose is not necessarily for mental health. And they also exclude anything in the medical arena. So things like psychotherapy or sleep labs. So I wanted to touch on the four categories that they broke down because I think it's interesting to just see how broad the span is in each of the categories. So the first one, again, almost $50 billion, called Senses, Spaces, and Sleep. Obviously, sleep is the dominant segment in this space with an array of sleep solutions, smart bedding, sleep accessories, sleep apps, wearables, trackers, sleep retreats, nap cafes they call out. Yeah, I know in like Japan they have those like little napping stations where you it's like a tube where you go in and you can take a nap for like 45 minutes. You pay by like the hour. Then it wakes you up and you go on with the rest of your day. Anyway, I digress a bit. But that segment, that $50 billion segment, also includes sound, which includes things like sound therapy, white noise, noise cancellation, wellness music, scent. I'm a huge fan of aromatherapy, home fragrances, diffusers, touch, again, the senses, stress toys, gadgets, weighted blankets, light. So whether this is human-generated light or light therapy, consumer devices. Also includes multi-sensory experiences from things like flotation tanks to forest bathing. I don't know what that, I could guess what it is. I don't know the details of it. It also includes things like wellness, travel, spa, fitness, and entertainment destinations, and sensory-based design and architecture. So again, fitness and entertainment destinations as opposed to fitness in and of itself. So huge category, almost $50 billion. The second category is brain-boosting nutraceuticals and botanicals. This again, about $35 billion globally. This includes ingestible products with the specific goal of improving mental health and well-being, natural supplements, herbs, botanicals, functional foods and beverages that help to or potentially boost brain health, sleep, memory. This category also includes things like legal cannabis and also includes functional mushrooms and also includes psychedelic drugs. So for those that may not know, Oregon did legalize things like psychedelics, like magic mushrooms recently. So that falls into this category: brain boosting, nutraceuticals, and botanicals. Third category, self-improvement. Now, this spans a pretty wide range of activities, particularly associated historically with self-help, personal development, including huge amount of self-help books, videos, audio, apps, online platforms, self-help gurus and influencers, personal life coaches, workshops, retreats, self-help organizers, support groups, creative organizations, and different apps and online platforms that really try to combat loneliness, isolation. So that is all under the self-improvement umbrella at $34 billion. And the fourth and final category is meditation and mindfulness at $3 billion. This one is probably most associated with mental health or mental wellness, but it's actually, as you see, with only $3 billion, the smallest. But I will say it's probably the fastest growing market. So this includes all forms of meditation practice, mindfulness practices, breath work, relaxation exercises, guided imagery, products to support all of those types of practices. This includes things, classes, teachers, retreats, books, online and mobile apps like Calm and Headspace that are a huge driver of consumer adoption and spend. So even though it's small, it's fast growing. Note that just because it was mentioned in the report that both Calm and Headspace are already both valued well over $1 billion. So actually, if you add the market cap, even though they're both private companies still, the valuation of both of those companies is well over $3 billion already. So those two apps alone, to give you an idea, the $3 billion is way too low for this category, just based on those two apps. I expect that meditation and mindfulness category to be much higher than the projected $3 billion. So lots of good stuff here in overall mental wellness. Stay tuned, as this category will undoubtedly continue to evolve and grow. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to The Fitterist Show. You can follow us on Instagram at FitteristMindBody and on Twitter at FitteristMind. If you enjoyed this episode, please send it to a friend or subscribe to make sure you don't miss any future episodes of The Fitterist Show. My name is Christopher Allen, and make it a magical day.